Hello everyone, MFPallytime here. Welcome back to Heroes of the Storm. We're back on the PTR today because we're going to be taking a look at Chromie. This is going to be my very long, very boring, very drawn out Theorycrafting video. I'm going to go over all of her talents. I'm going to talk about potential builds that you may try once she is on the live servers, or hell, on the PTR as well. And if that doesn't sound like something you're interested in, well, you've been warned and you can leave now. It's okay. It's okay if this video isn't for you. So, Chromie's basic abilities. Her Q is Sandblast. This is a very long straight line skill shot that will actually not deal any damage to minions. It'll travel right through them. You can't hit them at all. You can't hit buildings either. Let's go over here and I'll show you. It'll travel right through them, which actually takes a lot of adjustment time, or at least it did for me the first time I played her. Now, I have had an opportunity to play her already. She was available at the super secret Illuminati Heroes of the Storm, what was it called? Ranked Summit, where myself and about 60 other members of the community were sent out to give feedback on the game. She was available there, so I have played her. And I can tell you right out of the gate, she's not for me. But I'm still going to try to be as unbiased as possible. As you might be able to tell from the length of her main damaging ability, she is meant to be played at extreme ranges. Also, you may notice that there is a casting time. It even says it in the tooltip. After a 1 second delay, it's going to fire off this missile. So, it's going to take a lot of skill to really nail down the trajectory of this. It's going to take a lot of skill to really get used to the cooldown on not only your Q ability, but also your W ability. And predicting where the enemy team is going to be pretty hard. So she's definitely not a character that's going to be for everyone. Also, on top of that, she can easily, and I mean easily, be jumped on by an enemy hero. And they could do a lot of damage to her because she doesn't really have any escapes. I got a little bit off topic though. So her Q ability, straight line skill shot, 1 second delay, does a shit ton of damage, will not hit buildings or minions in any capacity. So you have to get used to just lobbing this out as often as you can into enemy heroes. Her W ability, this one's pretty cool. It's called Dragon's Breath. What it does is there's a pretty big radius around Chromie where she's able to fire off the skill shot. Now the enemy team cannot actually, I'm going to turn cooldowns off here. The enemy team cannot actually see the AoE circle of this. So, you can actually play some mind games with people. And this makes Chromie really, really strong in a bush. So for instance, if you're able to sneak into a lane and just kind of hang out back here, you can fire off these W's without the enemy team really knowing where they're coming from. Granted, there's a 14-second cooldown on this bad boy, so keep that in mind. But they can do a lot of damage. Not even talented for them in any way right now. At level 20, you can see this thing's hitting for 1,000. And it has a pretty long range, and you could do a lot of poking with this. And again, the enemy team cannot see where you're aiming. So while it does have a 1.5 second delay from the time you press the button to the time that it lands, if you do it in the right scenarios, so let's say this is the middle area of a map and I'm roaming up top to gank, we can do it in situations like this where the enemy player probably doesn't know, or the enemy team probably doesn't know we're there, and we can really do a lot of damage with it. So keep that in mind. Subtlety is going to be one of your best tools on Chromie. Her one and only forms of crowd control, outside of her ultimate abilities, is her time trap. This is a little clock she can put on the ground. It'll take a second to arm, and then it'll be stationary there. Works a lot like Abathur's mines. So, you know, they take a second to kind of deploy, and then once they do deploy, if the enemy team walks over this, he's going to be put in, if Arthas walks over this, he's going to be put in a stasis. So it'll basically act like a one-man void prison, for those of you familiar with Zeratul attacks. It might be kind of hard to show that off here. Do minions work? I don't think minions work. Okay, let's try this. Arthas, come hit me! Arthas! 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 Stop hitting the minions! That's right. Over here. Walk into that. So he's going to be stasis, and then we can kind of queue up our abilities to try to combo on top of him. Basically, whenever you walk into a team fight, or you walk into an area let's say on Infernal Shrines with all the Punishers, you want to walk up and start poking at the enemy team. You want to put this down right away, and you can just self-cast this right on top of you by holding down Alt. So you don't really have to place it that hard. I mean, you just put it underneath you and then stand around this just in case someone on the enemy team does try to come kill you. You want to have that ready to stop them. And again, while they're in this, it works just like a Void Prison. You won't be able to actually damage them, but they will not be able to chase you. So that does allow you to do some combos because you can land these right about at the same time. The stasis lasts for 2 seconds. So you would want to drop the stasis. Then when they actually get put in, you can time it so your W and your Q hit it at the same time. I'm sure you can see that. It combos quite well together once you get it going in the right direction. Let's see if we can get Arthas to walk into this again. That would be great. Play along, Artie. Play along. You know you want to. Come on. Come on. You gotta be kidding me. Oh, there we go. See here. There's the combo. Kind of hard to do, but there is another combo that she can do with her ultimate that's quite nice as well. Her trait, all it does, the only thing it does, is it gives Chromie her talents a level early. So if she gets her heroic at level 9, she gets her level 4 talent at level 3, level 7 at level 6. You know, it's just one level early. Her stats do not scale faster than enemy heroes. So for instance, she isn't hitting like a level 10 when she's level 9, but she will have her heroic ability earlier than every other class. And what are these heroic abilities? Well, thank you for asking. Thank you for asking. The very first one is called Slowing Sands. For those of you that have ever played Anivia in League of Legends, this is going to look very familiar to you. All it does is slow everything in the radius, which makes it easier for you to land these super long cast time abilities. Because, well, if the enemy team is not moving as quickly, it's a lot easier to hit them with all your circles. You know what I mean? It does have a mana cost, and it's not super bad or anything. It's 4 mana a second, and at level 21, she has 700 mana. So you really can't afford to just keep this thing going on forever. It doesn't do any damage or anything. It just slows people. The longer they're in it, the more slow they become, up to, I think, about 50%. And just makes it, again, easier to land your other abilities. Not much utility there other than, oh shit, this guy's chasing me. I'm going to put this down and run through it. And hopefully they happen to walk into this. You can kind of zone people away from stuff with it because, again, your abilities become more of a threat if they're in this circle. But as far as, like, you know, winning team fights with it, it can kind of go either way. I think it's the better of the two for team utility. But it won't really reflect in your damage numbers in most circumstances. Just for the record. Okay, so let's go ahead and reset our talents and I'll show you the other one. I like the other one more, just for the record. But it's a lot harder to use. This one is Temporal Loop. And it has a 70-second cooldown. By the way, this has a 5-second cooldown. Which basically, the Slowing Sands has a 5-second cooldown. Which basically just means you cast it, deactivate it. And then you have 5 seconds before you can cast it again. Like, you can almost keep that thing up the entire game. Temporal Loop, however, is pretty cool. It's like X marks the spot from Dota. And what it'll do, I'll try to show you. What it'll do is return an enemy to the location that they were at 3 seconds ago. Which is super cool. Like, crazy cool. So, again, we would normally have longer cooldowns, but let's try to force Arthas to leave. Go away, Arthas. Go away, Okay, now we cast it on him. And we can see where he's going to return. And then we can wombo combo our abilities right on top of that. And I'll try to show you one more time. Just in case you didn't quite see it. Her abilities are kind of hard to showcase in a realistic manner. I still have cooldowns off. Keep that in mind. I'm not showing you any actual synergies. But anyway, we can go ahead and put that on him here. And then once it's about halfway done, we cast our abilities. And then we get, like, guaranteed damage on him. Guaranteed damage on him. Very, very strong. But this does have a 70-second cooldown. And it can only be used on a single target, which makes it a bit more situational, although you can do some ridiculous damage with it. So again, here we go, and line it up. I waited a little bit too long there, so it does take a little bit of finicking to get quite right. But I do like it. It's pretty cool. I like it a lot. All right, so let's start taking a look at the talents. We're going to turn cooldowns back on. At level 1, we have Compounding Aether. After hitting 25 heroes with Sandblast, which is your Q ability, does not take very long to do, by the way, you increase its damage by 100. So it is a quest talent, but it's just a flat damage increase after you get the quest talent. It's my favorite in the tier. Then you have Deep Breathing. Every time Dragon's Breath hits a hero, it increases its damage by 2 up to 50. After hitting 25 heroes, increase its damage by an additional 150, and also increase your sight radius by 100%. So your sight radius is just, I mean, it's exactly what it sounds like. Let's move down here. Your sight radius is quite simply how far your character can see. So if I stand down here, you get a pretty good idea of what my sight radius would be. If we complete this quest, it's going to double in size. So pretty cool for an artillery style character like Chromie. Now, the important thing to mention about her W ability is while, yes, it can do a massive amount of damage with that talent, it does have a 14-second cooldown by default, which means you can use it to deal a lot of damage, but it's not going to be your main damage dealing ability. Are you really going to die to a tower? While you can just completely obliterate people in the right circumstances, most of your damage per second is going to be coming out of your Q ability just because it only has a 3-second cooldown, which means you can just constantly spam it. Whereas your W ability, you're kind of banking on it to land, and while you can do some ridiculous nukes, and theoretically you could take someone out of the fight, keep in mind it does have a 1.5 second delay, and the enemy team can easily just move out of it, and if you miss, it's a very extremely meaningful miss. So because of that, I do like compounding Aether a little bit more. There are 2 other talents in the tier. We have Time Walker's Pursuit. Gathering a Regeneration Globe increases your mana regeneration by 0.01 up to 1.5. After gathering 15 globes, you also gain 5% ability power. Pretty underwhelming as far as I'm concerned. One of the changes I expect to see in her is a higher mana cost because, quite frankly, she doesn't have any mana problems at all, as far as I can tell. For instance, Thrall, the melee assassin, who's supposed to be hitting things all the time, is significantly more mana hungry than Chromie, the artillery mage. So keep that in mind. And then Peer into the Future, activate to reveal the targeted area for 2 seconds. Enemies seen are revealed for 4 seconds. So it's just a clairvoyance on an area. No big deal. So we are going to go for compounding Aether here. And again, once we land this 25 times on Arthas over here, assuming we stop resetting our cooldowns, we are going to be dealing significantly more damage. At level 3, we have Piercing Sands. Sandblast is going to hit 2 targets, just like Murden's Q, where you can spec it to hit 2 targets. We can do the exact same thing with Chromie's Q. Very, very good. One of the talents a lot of people have recommended that I use, however, is the Bronze Talons. Increases your basic attack range by 35%, and using Sandblast increases the damage of your next basic attack by 250%. So again, Sandblast is that ability that you're going to be spamming constantly. And it's also the ability that doesn't actually deal any damage to minions. It'll just pass right through them. Chromie has a very, very hard time clearing lanes. A ridiculously hard time clearing lanes. The only ability she has that can do that is on a 14-second cooldown. So it can be a very stressful situation if you're the only one alive, and minions are rapidly encroaching on your territory. Very hard for her to deal with. Bronze Talents can alleviate some of that issue. And then the other talent is going to be Enveloping Assault, increases Dragon's Breath radius by 25%. So the radius on your W here will be increased by 25%. Out of the 3 talents here, I would recommend Piercing Sands if you wanted to just be a backline artillery style character. Or, more my style, I think. Oh, Arthas. More my style, I think. Bronze Talons just makes you an overall better character. Having the ability to, more well-rounded character, let's put it that way. Having the ability to clear lanes, pretty damn important. Also keep in mind that you have very, very long cooldowns. So being able to deal damage in between these cooldowns, if the enemy team is diving in on top of you, pretty important, and something that I would recommend. Although, they're both pretty good. Piercing Sands and Bronze Talons, they're both pretty good. What's our auto attack hit for? Level 23, 180 damage, but then we can buff it to be 630 damage. Holy shit, that's a lot of damage, actually. Holy fuck. Walk into that. Arthas, walk into that. Okay, level 6. Our options. Mobius Loop reduces the Dragon's Breath mana. Okay, let's read the actual tooltip and not the description. Reduces Dragon's Breath mana cost and cooldown by 50%, but also reduces its damage by 25%. So it is going to cut the cooldown in half, which is pretty cool. I mean, this is pretty good. Cutting the cooldown of your hardest hitting ability in half is not bad, but it's also going to reduce its damage by 25%. I like to think of this ability as your Nova Snipe. It is your big hitter. It is what you use to take someone out of the fight right away. So I don't really like the idea of reducing its damage just for lower cooldown. I think that if you're going for the Bronze Talons, you're going to increase your overall damage output with your auto attacks, so you can afford to keep your cooldown on your W a bit longer and keep that higher damage output there. You can increase the damage of your W ability even more with Dragon's Eye. Dragon's Breath does 25% more damage to enemies in the center. So if we pick this talent up, what you're going to see is that we now have 2 circles, just like Brightwing. Now the middle center area, going to be pretty hard to land. But if you're good at Chromie and you can get that down, you can do a massive amount of damage. Also keep in mind that this ability can hit towers. So unlike your Q ability, which just goes right through it, we can actually do a very substantial amount of siege damage with our W ability once we augment it like this. You can see, pretty fucking impressive. The other option at this level range you would want to pick for survivability, it reduces the time trap's cooldown by 50%, so you can use your E ability more often. And after the stasis ends, the enemy is also going to be slowed by 40% for 3 seconds. So purely a survivability increase. If the enemy team has a lot of really hard engage, like a Tyrael, an Illidan, a Sonya, you would want to pick this up just to peel for yourself a little bit better. Keep in mind, it is your one and only defensive cooldown that is not an ultimate ability, so it is rather important. But again, if you have a team and you're playing well and you're confident in your abilities, Dragon's Eye, you're going to do a lot of damage with this bad boy, and you're going to be able to take someone out of the fight right away if you're able to land it, and I think that's very strong. Now, out of the 2 ultimates, I think most people are going to get more value out of Slowing Sands. It's a better team fight utility. You can use it constantly throughout the course of the game. It is going to benefit you in an extremely wide variety of situations. But Temporal Loop, coupled with the Dragon's Eye, is just setting yourself up to completely snipe the living shit out of someone if you can land those circles properly, as you saw right there. Now, this does have a 70-second cooldown, so you can only use it once a minute, and in most situations, this is going to be reserved for when someone is chasing after you to try to secure a kill. You're going to hit them with your ultimate, land that snipe damage, and then run away. It's hard to simulate that versus an Arthas, but out of the 2 heroics, I do think Slowing Sands is the better one, but the one that is completely more my playstyle would have to be X marks the spot, Temporal Loop. You know, sending someone back to their death, I think, is great. Now, it is going to be pretty strong in a situation where your team is already ahead and you're chasing after, you know, trying to clean up kills after a winning team fight already. Let's say you've gotten 2 kills on the enemy team and they're starting to retreat. You can secure significantly more kills with Temporal Loop, I would imagine, or at least take 1 more, pretty much guaranteed in most situations. But again, I think it really does come down to preference. I think Slowing Sands is the better heroic in most situations, but the one I'm going to have more fun with is going to be Temporal Loop. Just being able to line this shit up whenever I want to. It's going to be too fun. It's going to be way too fun. At level 12, this is a talent tier I'm a little conflicted on still. So we have Bye Bye, reduces the Hearthstone cast time by 75%. Which is ridiculous. And on top of that, it makes it so your Hearthstone is not going to be interrupted by taking damage. Which means, if it starts to look like you're about to die, you can just Hearth right out of there. And there's really no downside to that. Now, this does take you back to the spawn, and you do have to run back to lane and back to a team fight, so you are going to be missing out on XP in those particular situations. But you're not dead. It's basically like having an instant Diablo revive all the time on Chromie. Which I hope I don't have to tell you is pretty good. Did it land? Oh, it sure did. Always consider this. Especially, again, if the enemy team has some really hard engage, and maybe you're not the best at positioning like I am, and you want to stay safe and you want to stay out of a fight, this is a great way to keep yourself alive. However, another great way to keep yourself alive is just to be farther away from the shit that's trying to attack you. And you can do that with reaching through time. There's a typo there, buddy. It's not uppercase. Let's go ahead and take a screenshot of that. Send it over to our buddies on Twitter. Pretty bad if I notice it. I never notice anything. Reaching through time increases the range of Sandblast and Dragon's Breath by 25%. So if you're farther away from the things that could actually hurt you, you're probably not going to get hurt as often. This is a great talent for just increasing your overall survivability. But keep in mind, the travel time on your Q is still exactly the same. So while you may be farther away, it does have the same travel time, so it may be harder to hit the enemy players. Let's go ahead and send Arthas back to his doom. See, I did the combo backwards there, and it actually fucked me. You always cast. Always cast the W first. You have to. You have to. The other talent in this tier would be Time Out. Activate to place yourself in stasis and gain vulnerability for up to 7 seconds. Can be reactivated to end this effect early. So this is basically Feign Death on Rexar or Ice Block on every fucking character that has Ice Block. But for 7 seconds. That's a really, really long time. In certain situations versus like a Pyroblast, let's say the enemy team has a Kilthos versus a Pyroblast, this is the one you should take every single time. It'll keep you alive. Your team will be able to follow up and really jump on these players while you're just sitting in your little safety bubble. With that being said, you could also just piece the fuck out with bye-bye too. Oh no, Pyroblast is coming, what do I do? Well, I think I'm gonna leave. Look how fast that Hearthstone cast is. I love this ability just for that effect. You also get some pretty cool animations around your character that allow you to just kind of swoop up into the air. And really, it's only burst damage is going to be the thing that can take you down on Chromie. And this allows you to get the fuck out before that burst damage actually happens. It's an insanely fast cast time. And I actually really enjoy this mechanic on here. In the tier, this is my favorite of the 300% faster. Did I say 75%? 300% faster. It is my favorite talent in the tier, but you know, I think your mileage may vary with this one. I actually don't know how good it is. I just really like using it because I'm not a good artillery player. I play characters that are able to get all up in your face and do a ton of damage, and usually survive through it. Now, Chromie's not a character that falls into that category at all. She is a character that if she steps out too far, will be killed. So this allows me to go, oh shit, it's like my get out of jail free card. If I step out too far, I can just go, oh crap, I done fucked up, and then I can leave. And because of that, I think it's fantastic. But really, I think every talent in this tier has its place and deserves to be in this tier. And I think they're all going to have value in different situations. Okay, level 15. We have Shifting Sands. Sandblast increases ability power. Hitting an enemy hero with Sandblast increases your ability power by 10% for the next 10 seconds. This bonus can be stacked up to 50%, and the duration is refreshed whenever you damage an enemy hero with Sandblast. So Sandblast has a 3-second cooldown and a 1-second cast time. That means you can cast 2 in a 10-second window. That gives you 2 opportunities to deal damage to an enemy hero, and every time you land your your Q, every time you land your Q, it is going to be increasing the damage of your next Q. If you miss, all of this falls off. So this is only recommended for those players that are ridiculously good at Chromie and not characters like me. Although it is pretty good. It is pretty fucking good. But I just can't land it consistently enough to actually make it count. And I've tried many times to land this consistently and to try to make it count. I can't do it. I just can't. I can't. Fast forward, if Sandblast travels at least 75% of its base distance and hits a hero, its cooldown is reduced by 1 second. Pretty strong. It's going to increase your DPS by quite a bit. The cooldown is only 3 seconds. So really, I mean, you're only getting a couple more out during the course of a team fight. But keep in mind, this fucking spell, it hits for so much damage when you actually connect. And in most cases, you are going to be at almost max range. I'm hitting for over 1,000 with this bad boy right now. So not a bad ability by any means. However, the last one in the talent tier, Quantum Overdrive, activates to increase your ability power by 25% for 10 seconds. This is the one I'm going to go for every single time. If I'm using Temporal Loop. And the reason for that, I hope should be fairly obvious at this point, because Temporal Loop just sets you up to do so much burst damage, and having an active that increases your ability power even more is just going to set you up even more for all of that burst damage. So let's poke at Arthas here. Let's get his health in a respectable range. Now, in 10 seconds, I'm going to use my full combo, and we're going to deal a lot of damage to Arthas Minifil over here. And I would assume it would be close to enough damage to take him down to nearly no health here. So let's go ahead. Here's our ultimate. Now we cast all of our shit. Not bad at all. Keep in mind, he is a fucking tank with a ton of HP. And it is worth mentioning that the effect is still going, so we are still getting the bonus effect from that. Ability power should not increase the damage of your auto attack bonus that we're getting at level 4 with Bronze Talons, but still, that's a lot of bonus damage too if you can weave that in somehow. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off cooldowns and then try this combo again with that bonus attack damage. So here we go. Here's the combo. Not bad. Not bad at all. And then prior to doing the combo, we would want to set our trap down. So just in case Arthas was still feeling frisky after that, he would have to walk into me. He would be put in stasis. And we could probably do the combo again at that point. Or at least close to. Keep in mind, it's a very long cooldown. 14 seconds again. At level 20, Temporal Loop now hits multiple heroes. Just going to make it so you can combo more people in the middle. This could be good, it could be bad. I can see how that could backfire really easy. But if you're on top of your game and you're landing these MLG snipes and you think you can take out multiple people on the enemy team at one time, well, shit, I don't see any reason not to do that. That sounds pretty good. The one I think is pretty cool is Past and Future Me. After casting Sandblast, leave an echo of yourself behind. The next time you cast Sandblast, the Echo also cast an untalented Sandblast for 50% of the damage. Well, it's only 50% of the damage, Pallytime. Well, we're hitting for over 1,000, so that's actually pretty good. I'll go ahead and cast a Sandblast just over here, and you can see it makes a little copy of me. And then, if Arthas would come back, you can see we can peg him here, and now all of a sudden we're doing 1,600 damage, and we can just keep this chain going and keep pushing this guy back. And then, of course, if he starts to run away a little bit too much and we don't like it, X marks the spot, bitch! Not bad. Are you starting to see the synergy there? That's actually really fun. I think if I'm going to play this character, it's going to have to be based around that. It's going to have to be based around super aggressive plays where I can go in and combo someone down. And I really do like this sand thing. Now, let's see if it increases the ability power when we do that. No, it did not. So this does not gain a benefit from our Quantum Overdrive. Doesn't look like it gains a benefit from it at all. You can also use this to scout a little bit, just for the record, unless that's changed. So if we go ahead and cast this right here, let's say we were on Infernal Shrines. Oh, never mind. No, I can't tell. Can I see that? Let's do it on a mercenary camp. That'll be easier to tell. I thought this gave vision. Maybe it doesn't. Let's go ahead and peace out. Yeah, it doesn't give vision. Okay. Never mind. I thought it did. So that definitely has its place. That's going to add a lot of extra burst damage if your build is centered around spamming Q nonstop. The last one is called Endor Hall Anomaly. It gives you 3 charges of your time trap. We'll go ahead and reset our talents, and I'll show you that one. So this one's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and toggle off our cooldowns. Normally you can only have one trap down at a time, and if you place another, it'll reset. But this kind of allows you to bunker down in an area. This is going to be a very big survivability increase if you're at a fight, if you're at an area of contention prior to the fight happening. So you're going to be able to lay down 3 of these at a time, and if the enemy team walks into them, it's just like, it's just like it was before. They're going to be put into a stasis, and then you can combo your abilities on top of that stasis. I wonder if we could set up some funny shit with Arthas here. Now, it is worth mentioning that if the enemy team has a Tassadar, these can be revealed by the Oracle. What I want to try... Yeah, let's try this. Let's do X marks the spot into a trap. Does that work? Oh, that totally works. And then you can combo on top of that. Hold on, I gotta try that again, Arthas. Come back. We gotta be really close for that, though. That can fuck you up really fast. I don't think that's very practical. I don't think it's very practical at all. And then let's take a look at the other talent at level 20. This is gonna be for Slowing Sands. It is Pocket of Time. Removes the Slowing Sands mana cost and increases the slow duration from 50 to 70%. Not that the mana cost was really a big deal before, but having a 70% slow basically means that someone won't be moving in here. Like, once Arthas decides it's time to go, he's not going to be able to move his feet at all. I do not believe this is an attack speed slow. It's just a movement speed slow. That looks to be correct. Hey, Arthas. Hello, Arthas MFPal. I think this is one of the weaker ones in the level 20 tier. I don't think I would recommend this one. Because a 50% slow is already pretty fucking good. A 70% slow, is it better? Yeah, but really, does it help you land your spells any better? No, not really. I think in most situations, what I would do, let's go ahead and pick all of our fucking talents again. In a normal situation, I think what I would do is go with I think I have the two strongest cases for past and future me, because that's a lot of extra burst damage. Or if you're super confident in your loopholes, or in your temporal loops, I would go for loopholes so you could bring more heroes back to that wombo combo. I mean, that could set you up for a ton of stuff. Imagine ETC synergies, Gazlo synergies, even Tahaka being ready to go with a grab. You can really get a lot of work done with that. But I think past and future me is going to be what I take in most situations, just because it's so damn strong. So you would want to sit someone up, and then you wabo combo them twice. Look at that. It's beautiful. Look at it. It's beautiful. Walk into that, Arthas. This is the build that I would recommend you use. Or at least it's the one that I'm going to use. I don't really feel comfortable recommending a build to other people in this particular instance, just because this character is so far away from my normal playstyle. As you all know, typically I let Hengus play the mages. The only exception to that really being Li Ming. I'm kind of good at Li Ming. Oh, I messed up my combo there. Oh, this might be funny. I was hoping to chain multiples of these together. Let's see. Can I do it? Or is the cooldown reduction thing, it's just not going to allow me? I'm just confused. I don't think it's working. Anyway. I think Chromie can be extremely powerful. She's countered very, very easily by hard engage. So if you want to play Illidan, if you want to play Zeratul, if you want to play Sonya, Tyrael, ETC, Muradin, you're going to be able to do a lot of damage to a Chromie. A good Chromie is going to be able to place her E down in time and use that very effectively to zone away from the enemy players. And she's also going to be able to react instantly to that stasis so she can wombo combo on top of it. Which I almost did there. Arthas, walk on that. So right as they get stasis, you basically have to throw all of your shit out at one time if you want to make it count. I do think she's fun with this style of a build, but I don't know how reliably people are going to be able to pull this style of a build off. She's definitely a very, very different play style. One that you're either going to really, really like, I think, or really hate, because she is so squishy. Only 3,000 health at level 26. That's really, really low. I could really see myself just getting a lot of enjoyment out of this, though. I mean, I'm not even upping my ability power. Let's go ahead and do that. And boom goes the dynamite. Oh, fuck you. I do think it's cool that her Q ability cannot just be used to endlessly siege, and her W ability has a long enough cooldown so we won't see characters like, you know, we won't see every mage just turn into a Li Ming who just sits there and endlessly sieges you, because I think that's really lame. But there you go. There's my theory crafting and first impressions. Again, not a character that I would pick as like someone that I would be instantly gravitated towards, but I could definitely see myself liking a build like this that is all about just completely eliminating someone from the start of a fight. So again, the build that I am going to be using I don't know if it's going to be the best build because this is not a character that I feel comfortable with. But compounding Aether after hitting 25 heroes with Sandblast, it increases its damage by 100. Bronze Talons increases your basic attack by 35%. Using the Sandblast increases the damage of your next basic attack by 250%. Dragon's Eye, Dragon's Breath does 25% more damage to heroes in the center. Combos insanely well with Temporal Loop. Choose an enemy hero. After 3 seconds, they teleport back to the location that they were at previously. So it looks a lot like this. Because you haven't seen it yet, obviously. Then, bye-bye, because I'm going to find myself in trouble all the time. And there's really no way around that. I'm going to be screwed when I play this character. And I could just leave by casting RB and getting out of harm's way super easily. Quantum Overdrive, because I don't want to have to rely on landing Q after Q after Q after Q. This will be higher damage output if you are better at Chromie. But for the Wombo combo, to really get the most out of it, what's going to benefit me more than anything is just being able to increase my spell damage and take someone out like that. And then at level 20, I did go for past and future me, although I think there is an argument for loophole, and really there's an argument for the anomaly as well. If you're getting just completely zoned out by the enemy team, having multiple traps down on the ground would be a fantastic survivability increase, excuse me. But it doesn't really work that great with the Wombo combo mentality. I'm going to kill Arthas one more time because I'm actually having a blast doing this. I'm having way more fun doing this Wombo combo shit than I was when I was actually practicing the character. Alright, so here we go. Here we go. We're going to recall him here. We're going to up our ability damage. Look at that. On Arthas Menethil, of all characters. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. Do you think this is going to be a character that you get into? I would love to know down in the comments. The more I talk about her talents and the more I talk about this Wombo combo that she can do on her own, the more I think I'm going to like her. It's just she's extremely squishy, and some of her abilities have ridiculously long cooldowns. So I think it is going to be hard to pull off reliably, for me anyway. But I'm not much of a mage player in the first place. But thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to hit the thumbs up button. And I will see you all in the Nexus very soon.